This is CBC Here and Now.
Good evening. Tonight, an opportunity for you to weigh in on the state of healthcare and wait times in this province. Here and Now is live at Memorial University for our public forum on healthcare as we wrap up our critical condition series.
On the weather forecast, it was a fine day in some parts of the province. Not so much in others. Things level out a little bit as we work towards your Friday and weekend forecast. We'll talk all about it coming up.
Welcome to our half-hour edition of Here and Now. I'm Debbie Cooper. In the first half hour, we have today's top stories. Then in the second half hour, we'll take you live to Memorial University for CBC's public forum on healthcare. And that's where Anthony Germain is tonight. He's co-hosting the forum with the CBC's Ramona Deering. Anthony, what can we expect tonight?
Well, Debbie, as you see, some people have started to come in here at the Bruno Centre already, and this is the culmination of our critical condition series. We're examining some of the problems, but more importantly tonight is also about the solutions. We all have a stake in this, and so we'll start around 6:30 Island time, and this will continue after Here and Now tonight online. So please check us out on our Facebook page, go to our YouTube channel, and of course our website, CBC, you know what it is, CBC NL, cbc.ca/NL. And you can check us out there. And we really want the questions to come in online as well. So please get involved in this tonight, and that will make it a big success, and look forward to seeing this thing unfold. Debbie?
Thanks so much, Anthony. We'll see you again in 30 minutes. Now to our top story tonight. The sudden death of a 26-year-old who was working on a construction site has left his family in shock and disbelief. On Monday, Chris Fifield fell 12 stories from a building under construction in downtown St. John's. Now, as the family waits for answers, they continue to process their grief. Here Now's Carolyn Stokes joins us now. Carolyn, what is the family saying?
Well, Debbie, they say even though the funeral plans are in place, they still can't believe he's gone. This morning, the St. John's Morning Show spoke with Christine Day, the half-sister of Chris Fifield. She was too upset to go on camera, but on radio this morning, she described Fifield as a hard worker, an amazing uncle, and someone who loved life.
Still hard to believe. I mean, he was only at my house Sunday night, playing with my kids. Actually, he was playing baby dolls with my son, actually, my 1-year-old. It's just so hard to believe that he was there one day and he was gone the next.
Less than 24 hours after their Sunday night family get-together, Day heard the news about an accident at a construction site in St. John's, but didn't give it a second thought.
I didn't really put two and two together until he hadn't texted me about coming to my house for supper. And when I couldn't get a hold of him and I couldn't reach him, I started to realize that it's a good possibility. It could have been him. It was. Let me tell you, it was a quite hard few hours until it was confirmed.
And when it was confirmed, sheer disbelief.
It just feels like it can't be. It's just not him.
She says Fifield worked at the site as a surveyor, and the family still has no idea what caused his fall or what could have been done to prevent his death. Those questions are part of the ongoing investigation. All they can do now is push on with the funeral and find a way to say goodbye.
It's going to be pretty hard tonight at the funeral home. There's still that hope, in the back of your mind that they made a mistake and it's not him.
Well, the funeral is happening tomorrow at the Salvation Army Citadel, and tonight there's a visitation at Barrett's. A friend of Fifield has also set up a GoFundMe page to help the family with funeral expenses, and at last check, they've raised about $2,200. Debbie?
Thank you so much. That's our Carolyn Stokes reporting live from our studio this evening. Well, the House of Assembly spring session came to a close today as new details of bullying allegations emerged, all in the lead up to a leadership review for Premier Dwight Ball next month. Here Now's Megan McCabe reports.
Tumultuous might be a good word to describe this session of the House of Assembly, a session filled with allegations of bullying. 2 cabinet ministers kicked out a caucus, and today, another revelation, as details of one of those complaints was released to some media outlets.
there seems to be an awful lot going on in the Liberal benches and in the Liberal caucus room, and this speaks to further challenges and difficulties.
The allegations by Liberal MHA Colin Holloway are about Joyce and Kirby bullying him. Things like Eddie Joyce telling him to F off on a number of occasions, and the two going after him for supporting Pam Parsons as Speaker of the House instead of the Premier's pick, Perry Trimper.
Did you direct Joyce or Kirby to rally support?
No, not at all.
How the letter got leaked isn't clear. Holloway says it wasn't by him, and the commissioner says only the complainant and members alleged to have breached the code have copies. Ball says he's not aware of that alleged behavior, and his party is united heading into its convention in 2 weeks.
You know, I'm looking forward to getting in front of people, and I've done a lot of that over the years. I've never backed away from any challenge that this party, that this province has thrown at me. It's not who I am. And, you know, we're going to do what we can. Will it mean changes? Of course it means changes. It means changes within the House of Assembly, and we've started that already.
NDP MHA Lorraine Michael says she hopes this leak doesn't scare other potential complainants away from the process.
Holloway's allegations against Dale Kirby, obviously Kirby was part of your party at one point. Does it match the Kirby that you know?
Does it match the Kirby that I know?
A pattern of behavior, potentially?
I'm not going to comment on that.
Megan McCabe, CBC News, St. John's.
A small sawmill outside Grand Falls, Windsor has been destroyed by fire. Grand Falls, Windsor Fire Chief Vince McKenzie said the RCMP was alerted to the fire at Pearson's Peak around 8:30 this morning. McKenzie said no one was injured while battling the blaze, but the sawmill is a total loss. Provincial officials with the Forestry and Agri-Foods Department are on the scene, ensuring there's no danger of a forest fire starting. The mother of an inmate who died last weekend in the Clarenville insight into what happened, but Lisa Piercy says the explanation doesn't add up. Police told Piercy her daughter, Samantha Piercy, was dead a few hours after it happened on Saturday, but gave her no details. Then, 2 days later, she says authorities told her Samantha had been upset and argued with another inmate. She was dosed with an antidepressant and left in her cell. Piercy says authorities told her that's when Samantha took her own life. The funeral for Samantha Piercy is set for tomorrow. Recreational salmon licenses will go on sale on the West Coast and in central Newfoundland on Monday. This news comes just days after the province said it didn't know when the licenses would be printed and ready for sale. It blamed the delay on the federal government, saying miscommunication about this season's retention limits meant the licenses needed to be reprinted. Licenses for other regions of the province and for non-residents will be available in the coming days. The season was scheduled to open tomorrow. Well, the community of Nameless Cove on the Northern Peninsula is dealing with a whale of a problem. A dead humpback has been on the beach there since the fall. But as Peter Cowan reports, the need to remove the whale is starting to grow.
There are fewer than 100 people that live in Nameless Cove. It's a small community on the tip of the Northern Peninsula, but it has a big problem. Last fall, a whale washed ashore. This big humpback whale has been sitting there all winter, and it wasn't a problem as long as it was frozen. But now that the temperatures are warming up, there's a new problem, and that's the smell. All that rotting whale is starting to create quite the stench in town, and the concern is that the tourists are starting to show up, and that's not what they came here to see.
If they wait too long, and the weather now, it's June, and the weather is starting to heat up, and the gulls and the crows are picking at it, and the next thing it's going to fall apart, and we're going to have a bigger mess.
The town is looking at a couple of different options for this whale. Option number one is to tow it out to sea. The concern there, though, is that it could just wash right back up and you'd still have to deal with it. The preferred option, says the co-chair of the local service district, though, is to find a spot on shore to bury it, and then it's no longer a problem. Right now, they're getting some quotes on exactly how much that's going to cost, but no matter the cost, he says they're going to need help from the province.
There's no way that we have any extra funds to come up with any extra projects like this, and no one expects this to come to the community anyway.
Of course, the province doesn't have a dedicated fund to deal with these sort of whale-related problems, but it says it will help out the community. People in Nameless Cove hope it happens before the temperatures warm up. Peter Cowan, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, you're looking at a live shot. St. John's in all its glory today, and you know, at least it wasn't quite as miserable as yesterday. The winds certainly from the north, and the showers and drizzle, yeah, that pretty much says it all, doesn't it? But yes, a little bit warmer, or a little bit drier than it was yesterday, and a little bit warmer tomorrow. The details after the break.
Well, we all know what that music signifies. Time to meet our young athlete of the day. This is 6-year-old Olivia Galton from Paradise. She's involved in hockey, gymnastics, soccer, and swimming, but her favorite sport is hockey, and she plays with the Paradise Warriors.
She recently won Most Dedicated Player Award on her hockey team. Congratulations, Olivia. You're today's Young Athlete of the Day.
Well, we could see that live shot as we went into commercial. St. John's not looking great. Other parts of the province are doing well.
A-OK. Great day on the south coast today, the west coast. Labrador was great. Pretty much everywhere but St. John's and that northeast coast. And, you know, what makes it worse when you have a stretch like this, Debbie, is when other areas are getting what you see off to the west. 30 today from Montreal, actually Fredericton to Montreal to Toronto. And what makes it even worse is when they're actually complaining about the heat, which is what they're doing in southern Ontario right now.
So bad.
We feel terrible for you. Yes. Oh, and your heat and oh, can't get out of it. Yeah, we would gladly take 10 or so degrees off your hands here in eastern parts of Newfoundland. Thanks to this low, which is again spinning around that northerly flow, wrapping in the showers, the drizzle, the fog patches. Many delays at St. John's Airport today, even a few cancellations on the board thanks to that fog which has been rolling in. That will continue to be the name of the game tonight as those winds stay in from the north. Now, winds are going to become lighter through the overnight tonight, and as we roll throughout the day tomorrow, they will continue to taper off. Temperatures likely in that 3-4 degree range, steady there through tonight into tomorrow morning. We'll drop to about 1 in Grand Falls, Windsor. Patchy drizzle possible there. Smooth sailing, Corner Brook. And how about the mild temperatures into Labrador? We will see some showers rolling in tonight into Labrador City before morning. And that southerly flow will continue to keep temperatures mild tomorrow, but some periods of rain will be rolling in from west to east as that next line moves in. On the island, it's a better day for St. John's tomorrow, again slowly improving, where we may even see a sunny break into the afternoon. The shower and drizzle chances less so tomorrow than they were today, and again today was an improvement from yesterday. The west coast is going to be the best coast once again tomorrow, as will the south coast, where we're talking about temperatures ranging from 15 to 17 degrees, a little cooler right in those onshore winds, as cool as 12 in places like Port aux Basques in the sea breeze. 20 though again in Corner Brook in that neck of the woods tomorrow. The Straits should be around 10 to 12 degrees, Cartwright at 18, and there's that rain trucking through into Labrador, and so 16 is the high in Lab City, but as winds shift to the north, we will see that temperature start to taper off. 8 degrees generally speaking in Metro, but it's going to be quite a variable day where I think we're closer to 4 or 5 degrees right in those onshore winds in Torbay. Work your way into CBS. Whitburn, inland areas of the Avalon, I think we're flirting with the 12 to even 13 degree range for tomorrow. So it will be much dependent on where you are, with that wind really slacking off, and we're going to have a bit of a sea breeze set up for tomorrow, no question. Now, as for Saturday, periods of rain will start to march into western parts of Newfoundland with another line coming in from the east. Central will be kind of stuck in between on Saturday, and I think even some sunny breaks earlier in the day. Certainly the clouds thicken up, late day shower chances tearing over to Gander. 14 degrees, maybe 15 in Corner Brook, and talking about mid-single digits in Labrador. A bit of a clear out on the other side. St. John's will be near 9 degrees on Saturday. It all fills in with better shower chances on Sunday. Clouds dominating, and yes, some snow possible on the other side of this front. Likely some wet flurries mixing in through Sunday, late afternoon into the evening through Central, possibility late evening in through St. John's, and we're clearing out on the other side of this front for you folks in Labrador with a mix of sun and cloud. We'll talk about what the long range holds coming up in just a few minutes. Debbie.
Thank you, Ryan. Now in health news. For decades, the pill has been the go-to method of contraception for women and girls. But the Canadian Pediatric Society says that should change. In a report just out this morning, it's now recommending intrauterine devices, or IUDs, as the first line of defense against pregnancy for sexually active teenage girls. Christine Birek has the details on the Society's new guidance for doctors.
Say the words birth control and most people think the pill. Well, now the Canadian Pediatric Society is trying to change up the conversation, saying it now supports intrauterine devices, or IUDs, as a first line of defense against pregnancy in sexually active teen girls. While IUDs are the most widely used reversible contraceptive method in the world, that's not the case in North America. In the 1970s, issues were raised around a particular device, issues the Canadian Pediatric Society says have been looked at.
A concern that it would cause infection, but it turns out that those studies, or the interpretation of those studies, was flawed. And when people went back and re-looked at all of that, they realized that really, in fact, the risks were more related to having unprotected sex.
An IUD is often a small T-shaped device placed inside the uterus by a doctor or nurse. It works to prevent pregnancy for years at a time, so no daily pill, and it can be removed at any time by a healthcare provider. There is a small risk of tissue perforation during insertion and cramping afterwards. This Planned Parenthood helpline answers questions from teens.
The common question we get is, can I get an IUD without my parents knowing? And that's a question that we get a lot around a lot of birth control methods, but with the IUD, because you do have to go to a doctor, I think we get that question more frequently.
The Canadian Pediatric Society says parents should talk to their kids about sex and sexuality in small doses to encourage them to ask questions, and also remind them that condoms are still the best protection against pregnancy and sexually transmitted infections. Christine Burak, CBC News, Toronto.
An escalation in a trade war with the U.S. Donald Trump makes good on threats to hike tariffs on steel and aluminum coming from Canada, Mexico, and the EU by midnight tonight. Welcome back. Well, it sure looks like a trade war has begun between the U.S. and some of its key allies, including Canada. This after Washington announced early today that tariff exemptions on steel and aluminum coming from Canada, Mexico, and the European Union would expire at midnight tonight.
Well, there's overproduction of steel and there's overcapacity throughout the world. And so we have needed to deal with it in a very global manner. You can't just deal with it dealing with one country.
It means the U.S. is now hitting all three regions with import duties of 25% on steel and 10% on aluminum. The tariffs were first announced in March as part of a broader package of international import duties. But Canada, Mexico, and the EU were exempted until June 1st. This afternoon, Canada fired back. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau called the tariffs and Washington's reason for them inconceivable.
Today, we find ourselves the target of punitive tariffs on Canadian aluminum and steel under pretext of a 232 national security provision. Let me be clear. These tariffs are totally unacceptable. For 150 years, Canada has been the United States' most steadfast ally.
In retaliation, Ottawa plans to impose dollar-for-dollar tariffs on U.S. steel and aluminum starting July 1st. It will also impose other tariffs on a wide range of U.S. goods, including whiskey, orange juice, pizza, coffee, and beer kegs. Some products will get a 25% tariff, others 10%. Canada will also challenge the U.S. tariffs under NAFTA and the WTO. Well, I spoke with the head of the Steelworkers Union in Labrador West today. Ron Thomas says most of the iron ore from IOC's operation in Labrador City is shipped overseas, primarily to China, so the impact of the proposed new U.S. tariff is expected to be minimal. The hottest and fastest moving lava of Kilauea volcano's latest eruption spread across new parts of the Big Island today. Officials ordered new evacuations in 2 coastal neighborhoods amid fears the rapidly moving lava could cut off escape routes. The Geological Survey team is using drone images to help locate new lava flows that could be potentially dangerous. In an incident on the weekend, one resident was nearly trapped by the fast-moving lava. The drone footage was used to help find that resident and guide them to safety. Incredible, incredible scenes coming from the Big Island in Hawaii, Ryan.
Wow.
Well,
okay. Weather forecast closer to home and a little look into the long range. Let's have a quick peek here. And again, it's that drizzle and northerly wind that we see in St. John's and the northeast coast again tomorrow. And a little bit of a break into the afternoon, but more so as we roll into Saturday. You can see where that returns. Rain coming in from the west and central will get kind of squeezed out eventually, but I think likely the best forecast on the weekend, on Saturday at least, will be central. Sunday, it's showers mixing over to, yes, flurries. That's flurries in blue there, and you can see where, as we roll into next week, it looks like an area of high pressure will come into the region and give us a little bit of relief. And so we're banking on that, and there's certainly a brighter looking long-range forecast. And so we'll keep our fingers crossed that that holds true after we get through that weekend uncertainty, and even Labrador looking a little bit brighter as we roll into that long-range forecast.
We can live in hope that things will warm up.
Always, always live in hope.
Well, that's our news portion of Here and Now this evening. Stay tuned. After the break, we go to the Bruno Center at Memorial University, where Anthony Germain and Ramona Deering host our healthcare forum, Critical Condition.
Welcome to our Critical Care Public Forum on Healthcare in Newfoundland and Labrador. We're broadcasting live from the Bruno Centre on the campus of Memorial University.
And for the next half hour on Here and Now, you can watch us. I think it's going to be a fascinating discussion, but this is going on for 90 minutes. The first half hour from 6:30 to 7 Island time on television, and then afterwards from 7 to 8, we'll continue online, cbc.ca/NL, our Facebook page, and on our YouTube channel.
And if you're not here in person, you have an opportunity to have your voice. You can leave comments on the Facebook page for CBC Newfoundland and Labrador. And we're focusing on solutions to the many issues in the healthcare system that we've been talking about over the past couple of weeks with our Critical Conditions series. So that's what we're looking for from you. Do you have ideas? Do you have suggestions? What might make things better? Because Anthony, I think there's no argument that we've got some problems.
There certainly are problems, and we want to talk about those problems, but also, as Ramona said, the solutions.
All right, so let me start with Debbie Forward, who is the president of the Registered Nurses Union of Newfoundland and Labrador. Thanks so much for joining us.
Pleasure to be here.
Why don't you kick it off? You're not shy. Throw out one solution that you think could make people in Newfoundland and Labrador possibly healthier, definitely happier when it comes to their medical system.
Well, access to healthcare, I know, is a challenge for many people in this province, and increased utilization of nurse practitioners. We have many of them right now in Newfoundland and Labrador. I think about 115 positions right now, and I think there's greater capacity to utilize them in different areas, different sectors of healthcare, increasing them in what we call primary healthcare, which is the first point of access to the healthcare system, complementing family physicians and other providers.